This is lesson 3.3 on properties, not properties of real estate, but properties of math. In this lesson, we're going to look at 3 out of 4 properties. The first one we've been talking about throughout elementary school, commutative. So that should be much more familiar. Associative, we've talked about a little bit. We haven't talked about the identity property, and we're saving the distributive property for lesson 4. All these 3 properties that we're going to talk about, we're going to use both addition and multiplication for examples. We're going to use variables and numbers as examples. So let's get started. The commutative property says that you can change the order of the addends. What is an addend? An addend is a number that you add. So let's give some examples of that. If we started with addition with numbers, I could say 2 plus 3 equals 3 plus 2. It doesn't matter what order I add them in. Likewise, I could say 2 times 3 equals 3 times 2. Again, it doesn't matter what order. In algebra, I can say that A times B is the same as B times A. Let's move on to the next one because that one we've talked about quite a bit. In the associative property, it says that you can change the groupings of the addends. What's a grouping? That's when I use a parentheses to tell me which to do first as an order of operations. So let's give some examples using numbers. If I say I'm going to add 2 plus 3 plus 4, I could add the 2 and the 3 first and then the 4. Similarly, because it's addition, I can say that I could regroup it and I can say, well, I want to add the 2 later. I want to add the 3 and the 4 together first. The associative property says I can put parentheses in to do things in any order I want as long as it's addition or multiplication. Same thing. So I can rewrite this as multiplication. And though the answers are different, it's the same process. This is called associative because I'm associating different numbers together in different orders using parentheses. In algebra, it might look like this. And I guess you can guess what's coming next. So this is associative. Now, as we get into algebra, you're going to have combinations of letters and numbers, and that's where this makes a lot more sense. Right now, it doesn't look like it has a purpose. But when you have a combination, let's say 2 plus B plus 4, I might want to change that. In fact, I might want to use 2 different properties at once. I might want to change the order because commutative says with addition or multiplication, I can change the order. And I might want to change the order in which I do it. So let's rewrite this. I can put my 2 and my 4 first, put a parentheses around it to make sure that I do that first, and then add my unknown variable. The identity property of addition says that I can add 0 and it won't change its value. However, if I'm talking about multiplication, the identity property of multiplication, it's not 0. So let's look and see how this works. We'll start with addition. If I take a number and I add 0 to it, it doesn't change. However, if I want to multiply it by another number and have it not change, it can't be a 0, it has to be a 1. Both of these will equal 5. The first one is the additive property of identity. The second is the multiplicative property of identity. Both of them say that you can keep the number the same by adding or by multiplying, but with adding it has to be a 0 and multiplying it has to be a 1. That might not have a purpose right now for you, but it certainly will. You actually have been doing this in the past. Let me show you how you've been doing the identity property of multiplication. When you want to increase a fraction's denominator so that you have common denominators, for example, if I have 3/5 and I want to add it to 7/15, I know that I want to increase the numbers in 3/5 without increasing its value. So I use this identity property. I want to keep its value the same. I want it to equal the same thing, but the numbers will change. So I'm going to multiply it by a value of 1. And this is how it looks. 3/5 times 3/3 equals 9/15. This is a value of 1. So I've just done the identity property, even though we didn't call it that. So these truths, these properties are going to be very useful as you get further into algebra. So we're going to do some practice starting tomorrow.